students. Hope you are all okay after Amphan. Today, on request of Sushmita, I am going to deliver one lecture on growth or origin of state or evolution of state and sovereignty. So, see, you have already learned about Western political thought, where it starts from Plato and then Aristotle, and then so many Greek philosophers are there. But you remember, they all thought that state is a normal institution or natural institution. State is not created one. The human being and the society are actually, and the state is actually clubbed together. There is separate no identity for the state and the society and the individual. All are amalgamated. Means society is the and along with the state, and there is no separate entity for the individual. So, but later on, see, that point of time you have to be very clear about the thing that any time if a thought is coming in mind, so that is very much related to the situation. So in that situation, what happened, the city state is not a very small state. There are only 50 or 60 citizens are there. So a short, in the context of a very short state, one cannot think about the creation of state. So it may happen that, or it is the thing that because of this scenario, they thought that state is normal institution, state is natural institution, state is not created. But it is not the truth. True is that the society is also created, state is also created. But the concept came when the state actually, when the society actually increases the boundary. 50, then 60, then more. Then Romans started the nation state, that is the empirical empiricism, emperor and that big state. After annexing so many other states, they created first the big state, crossing the barrier of the city state. So Romans are the pioneer who actually created the state, that is the big state. So now the whole theory of Greek philosophers actually outdated then, because state is created now. So once it is uttered that state is not created, state is natural, but second time they are showing empirically that state is created, then what is that? Means the earlier theory is now outdated. So then they created a separate theory for nation state. How the nation state should be administered, how the state should be bordered, what kind of relationship or foreign relationship or diplomatic relationship should be maintained with the state, what should be the proper boundary, what should be the role of a proper ruler. That is discussed later on after Rome became a nation state. So state, the form of state from the city state, it turns into the nation state, and then theory also actually was started to being changed. So after Roman created the nation state, several theory regarding state had started to come out. This is the practical background that you have to hold for that state theory, the origin of state and all. So evolution of the state is that earlier there is small state, that is the city state. Then from the city state, after war or annexation, nation state created, and from that onward, nation states, around nation states, other associated theories started to come out, right? What should be the duties of a ruler, how the administration should go on, what is the law, what is the purpose of law, why law should be maintained, what type of laws are there, how many the basis, what are the basis of the law, on which base law should be created, what is law, what is the verdict, what is the kind of order that can come from the ruler. So these are several issues actually started to grow up with the Romans creation of our nation state. So this is how the history moves, and that this is the way political science theory is also moves. Because I already uttered several of times in your own classes that political science is not a vague one. It is very much dependent on the base. It is very much dependent on the history, and it inculcates the sources from the history. So this is the thing. That is why political science is very much vibrant type of subject. So forget about that. Now coming to the point of creation of state and other. See, when state has come up, the nation state has come up, then there is a necessity to hold the state very tightly. So you have to be very stiff to administer, because unless and until the ruler is not so tight to hold the nation, it will be a tough thing to administer that portion which is annexed very newly. So recently annexed portion of the state can't be administered if our ruler is not a very stiff or strong or dominant type of ruler. So to maintain that kind of nation state, several theories has come up with the notion that how state should operate the thing, how administration should go on, what is the basis of law, what is the difference between ethics and law, what are the ethical basis of the law, how the ethics of a ruler is different from the ethics of the normal citizen, how the duties are different, how duty and ethics is related, because all the way as I am performing a duty, so I have a good ethics in behind that, so that on that basis I am performing the thing. So everyone has that ethical base in his own mind or in her own mind to deliver that kind of service to the nation. So unless and until ruler has a very strong hold on the ethic, that what should be the ethics of that king, a king cannot administer properly, because ethics and delivery of the service is very much interlinked. So it can be separated. I have that ethic, and my ethics is actually reflecting in my teaching. So teaching, it is my profession, so everywhere every profession is related to the ethics. So Romans actually created the ethics for the king, ethics for the law, objective of the law, objective of the state, and the element of the state. What are the elements of the state? So these are the several things which actually had come up with the nation state as created by the Romans. So you just check the year of the formation of nation state, Roman Empire, what time they have created, and so on. I'm not going to detailing on that portion, but you remember that history moves and the theory also moves. And earlier theory of that state is natural institution, this whole theory has gone with the creation of the Roman Empire, that is the nation state in our sense. So the concept of nation state came in a very later hour, that is the 20th century or other, that it's nation, then sovereignty, then the other thing. But the terminology is new, but the concept is not new. The concept is very old. The concept had come up with the Romans, and after that the nomenclature had have come, like with the initiative of the American, that is the USA, all the research work and all, this terminology has come up. But it is not that Americans have created the thing. The concept is earlier presents earlier also it was there, but the Americans has given the terminology. That is the difference between the terminology and the concept. So the state of nation state, the concept is there. Then annexation and imparting that kind of a strong administration, that is also there. Then manual to the king, that is also there. How to administer, that is also there. So there are several things that are there. So state and sovereignty, we all know that sovereignty, the term has come up with the Bodha. I already taught you that Bodha is a theorist who coined the term sovereignty, but it is not that the sovereignty actually starts from Bodha. It is there, but the conceptualization has been made by Bodha. So I am talking about the creation of the coming up of that concept, not the terminology. So first you go through the history, then you come to that point who has coined the term. You already know that Bodin has, Bodin is actually the originator of the term, that is the sovereignty, and state is there. So, and there are several theory of regarding the creation of state, that you know, the forcibility creation of state, then religious theory of state, the formation of state, then so many theories you already have read about that, the theories of state regarding the formation of state. But I am not going to that theory part. I am talking about the historical part, that where it starts, that where it started, on which ground the concepts are actually have started to come up. So this is actually the thing, and you all know the Machiavelli's name. So Machiavelli belongs to Rome, and Machiavelli gave that manual instruction to the king, that is the prince, in his book Prince. And laws, there are several books on laws, and see here Machiavelli cut this thing, that ethics of a ruler should be different from the ethics of the citizens. So whatever good to, whatever is ought, or whatever the good thing to a king to do, that can't be the good thing to the citizen. So there is a difference between every professions. Means being as a teacher, I have a separate ethics. Doctors have their own ethics, should have, and say lawyer, they are also having, or they should also have that kind of ethics while delivering the service. So if you are delivering the service, and the delivery of the service is actually related to the ethics. So first Machiavelli provided the ethical ground of the ruler and the law, and Constantinople during his emperorship started with that law, how law should be written, what is the law, what is the necessity to create law, what is written law, what is unwritten law, what are the basis of law. So these already started by that Constantinople and Byzantine, that civilization is all know. You go through just the history book, so that is there. And the law, actually the written form of law, not that verbal law. So written form of law started with that Romans. So Roman are the Roman is actually or Rome is actually the creator of the state, that is the nation state, then creator of the ethics to that ruler, and the manuals, instruction how to administer the state, and what are the elements of the state. So these are actually started by the Romans. So now state has come. The issue is how sovereignty has come. The issue of the that concept of sovereignty, how it has come. So sovereignty, it is the power or the supreme power of the state that is exercised or manifested through the ruler. Ruler may be one, ruler may be two, ruler may be few, but the element of the state, that is the supreme power, actually exercised by the ruler, because state is abstract. So state cannot operate. State is an abstract idea that is in our mind. We cannot see state. So state cannot act. So on behalf of the state, it is the ruler who is actually acting on that issue. So sovereignty is that. Now sovereignty required first time when Roman inserted a particular area in that whole state, and newly inserted state, there is a much probability of agitation, sedition, then clash, and then so many disloyalty towards the new ruler, because the ruler is also new and the annexed portion is also new. So to have a very good conversation, or to have a good relationship between the state and the citizen, both has to be known to each other, or the time is required, and certain other factors are also required to have a good administration over there. So the state, the ruler should be very much clear to that section, that no, you are entered, and you have entered, and I as a king or queen will take care of you as my other citizens. So these kind of assurance should be there. And then after getting the assurance from the king, the newer portion, if they are having very good administration, very strong hold in the administration, then they also provide the habitual subordinates to the king. So the term habitual subordinates is associated with John Austin. We all know that English philosopher John Austin has given that habitual subordinates. But this concept of habitual subordinates comes or came with the Roman after insertion or after including the newer section, that is annex part, to their own state. So how this has to be administered, how these kind of rapport between the new people and the king should be maintained, what are the tricks and tips of that administration. So these are actually the required thing that already been discussed starting from the period of nation state created by the Romans. So sovereignty, now that this thing is also already in their mind, that a king should have a very strong hold or supreme power without which one cannot administer, whether it may be a new one or whether it may be a old one. But in case of new one, the thing is more vulnerable, but in old case it is more or the most habituated. So there is no chances of sedition from that place which is old one, but the chances is higher than the earlier place in the newer or annex portion. So the king should have a very good hold on that portion. Now this way the concept of sovereignty came in the study of political science, later on developed by first logically, sequentially, and in a very good way presented by Jean Bodin, that you all know. And Bodin, to him it is the sovereign who is one. Author means Boda supported monarchy. There are so many people who supported monarchy, like Hobbes, you all know. Hobbes is said that Hobbes state is created by contract, but the ruler is not the part of the contract, and the verdict of the ruler is law. So ruler is the lawgiver. Ruler has their own ethics on that which they may give that law, but that law is unquestionable. The verdict of that sovereign is unquestionable, and Boda is also like that. There should be a single line of administration. Unity is very much required thing in the state, and the sovereign is actually the power of the state which is overwhelming, which is unquestionable, unalienable, and can't be delivered. Delegation is not possible there. So these are certain things you can go through the Boda's theory of sovereignty, and later on as a counterpart of that sovereignty, that is that monastic theory of sovereignty, some of the philosophers started telling that state should be liberal. State shouldn't interfere in the every action of the state. Say for example, I told about mill, I told about say for example Locke. So they are very much liberal, and they thought that state shouldn't interfere in all activities of that citizens. So now the sovereignty, that the monastic theory of sovereignty, actually challenged. Then another theory has come up, that is the pluralistic theory of sovereignty. You all know that pluralistic theory believes that state is an institution which is meant for the well-being of the society, and there are several other associations or groups or institutions who are actually working for the benefit of the state, for the benefit of the society. So state is actually similar to the other institutions who are actually also engaged in public welfare activities. So this is that. And the sovereign power cannot be in the hand of the can't be in the hand of only one institution, that is the state, but other institutions, as they are performing their duties for the citizen regarding the welfare and the well-being, and the works are actually beneficial to them. That is why they are also eligible to get the portion of that sovereign power. So this is the pluralistic theory. You go through the book, there you will get that the name of the propounders of that pluralistic theory of sovereignty. Now the issue is that it can't be, because it is challenged by the situation only, that if state is not only the sovereign thing, then who will control the other institution? So in practical, the theory given by the pluralists actually not possible to have, not possible to maintain, or not even come in any of the state in the world. Pluralistic theory kotha kokhono asheni, never had been in that position to take it by any of the state in the world. But sovereignty, monistic theory has been accepted or has been taken in many of the countries. Now, after the glorious revolution in Great Britain, that kind of that indirect democracy started in UK. After that, the theory of sovereignty again changed, and it come to the point of people's sovereignty, that popular sovereignty. It is known as popular sovereignty. So popular sovereignty is the sovereignty, actually it is the power of the state, but the state is not the source. The source is actually the citizens. So citizens are allowing the state to administer, to take care, to provide the security, to provide that kind of peace and law, maintenance of the law, but the source is that kind of citizen. State is not the source. State is the owner of that thing, owner of sovereignty, but the source of sovereignty is actually the citizens. So this is called actually popular sovereignty. You can also go through the book and get the name who has propounded the theory of popular sovereignty. And now this theory is actually in present prevailing, that is the theory of popular sovereignty. Everywhere we all know that we are the source, state is the actor. So government is the actor, administration or administrator is an actor, but the main source of all these powers actually are the citizens or the population. So state is created for the people, and the sole purpose of the state is to provide happiness, peace, security, liberty, and overwhelming welfare of the society. It is the main thing behind state. So everything related to state, sovereignty or any other, it is the beneficiary actually are the citizens, and the sources also actually the citizens. So this is all for today. If you have any questions, any query, as Sushmita does, so you all can question through comment or even through phone call. Okay, so be safe in the room and Amphan, and be safe from corona. Watch the YouTube videos, follow me and keep contact with me. Okay, bye bye.